Sorry.
All right, we have a Wednesday, October 19th, 7 PM FiPAC meeting with Town Administrator Mark Walter reading the rules of a hybrid meeting. This is a web-based call. So this meeting is operating under the following procedures. This session is being both video and audio recorded. Commissioners and staff will be generally remained on mute except when speaking or voting, and will generally be keeping their videos on themselves throughout the meeting. If a member of the public creates an audio or video disruption, they may be manually ejected from the meeting upon recommendations of staff or the chair. For public input before the meeting, please email your comments to publicinput@columbiact.org within 24 hours before the meeting. And we have not received any public input to this meeting. And at the moment, we do not have anybody in the audience through video that I can see.
We're the unpopular group. Okay, let's come to order. Do the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, which stands one nation under God,
Indivisible.
Thank you. We've been told we have no audience. So moving on to the approval of the minutes of August 7.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as presented. I second.
We move in a second. That we approve the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Correspondence, anything in the correspondence that?
Good questions. For Mark, we're gonna be charging BEVs to charge?
Say that again.
Yes,
I didn't hear you.
Okay, are we going to be charging the vehicles, the EVs to charge?
Non-town vehicles will be, they're gonna, I believe, set up to be charged. They have to put a credit card or debit card. Yep.
It didn't say it, so I was just curious. And yeah, that's fine. Some of it I figured out.
What's the historical thing with the mills?
The meals?
Mills,
No.
Mills. Yeah, there was a big, they were talking about, which I don't know, like, they're just examining that, right? They haven't really gone beyond examination,
You
right?
mean the Will Minute?
There was some kind of historical archaeological site.
Hop River, Hop River.
Oh.
That's
Where-
what Joan
where?
Hill, it's on the, right before the bridge on the right, there's some property of the
And
town.
then turn it into a campground.
That's a possibility, but I think they're not doing it anymore. They just cleared it.
Okay.
Recreation and it'll have a historical site where the old mills used to be. And, there's no foundations left there, but, they're gonna put some historical markers there, here's where, this mill was but it'll be used for recreation if people want to go camping or fishing or anything like that.
So it is gonna be used for camping.
It's not a campground, but it could be, yeah.
There's not services or anything.
Oh, that's what I didn't mean that way. I mean,
Right.
You can be used for camp, because there are certain parts that you can't camp, certainly you can't.
Right.
I think they'll have to register with the town or something, right?
Yeah, we haven't worked that
Yeah.
part of it out, but it's part of open space.
But they're gonna do some excavation to look for.
Oh, that was a question. Do we own this?
Yes.
Do we already own this property?
It's donated. It's
it
donated.
was an open space set aside from subdivision.
Where exactly is it?
Right to the right, after you're going down Hop River Road and it makes a hard left bend and then a hard right bend to go over the Hop River Bridge. So at the first bend, if you go straight, you'll see a gate. We own the property beyond the gate.
First
And
corner.
to the right will be camping, frisbee playing, fishing, have fun. And to the left will be a archaeological preserve to see where an old mill was with signage telling what was there in the past.
So is that adjacent to the railroad trail that people use to?
Yes, if you go over the bridge, you're at the Hop River,
It's across the river, across the river.
across the river.
Okay, so people can use both of those
Yes,
areas.
Okay, that's all. Might actually go for a walk. Anything else in correspondence? Nothing like the old business. Beverly,
Me, so in your packets, you have some, they're not final yet. Still some preliminary for last year's numbers. Do you have a copy? Do you need a copy?
Yeah, no, I had a question, but,
Oh, go ahead,
You guys
we can go back.
what's going on with this, with the mental health little library grant?
Mark,
were you talking about the little teeny library outside the chapel?
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be connected somehow to the library. The library is not doing it, and so now it's its own separate thing. What is that? Is it getting granted by the state? What is?
It's a grant by Senator Austin for free mental health books to be distributed through a free little library kiosk. And Andover and Lebanon both put theirs by the library. We had a public board of selectmen meeting where the board of directors of the library and the friends of the library, which is in front of the chapel, which is the chapel, both felt that it confused the public and they wanted it relocated. So the board of selectmen voted to relocate it to the Murphy House, where our social services director and where a lot of the public go for the beach, so they can utilize the little library there. So it's about to get moved.
Okay. That's it.
okay.
yeah, so the first one I think you should see is the revenues. The collection rate was pretty much at least close to 99%, if not a little higher than that, based on what I could see. Some of the grants that came in higher is the education cost share. We did the budget. We had a number, but then the state came in and gave a little extra. Part of it was an adjustment for last year's special ed grant. The cost came in a little higher after they did an audit, so they added to the ECS grant. They had the real estate conveyance, a lot of the inland wetland fees, a lot of the building fees. They did very well, way above budget. As I said, the special ed grant came in higher because of higher than expected costs. Preschool tuition came in higher. We had a full house, so we were able, that was more than anticipated. So we ended up with a even when students left, there was somebody to replace them. So they always had a full house all last year. So the revenues is right now is at 542 pending further year-end adjustments that I have to make. The town of Columbia, their surplus is currently at over 285,000. A lot of it's every department gave back money for a variety of reasons. Some like one of them was like the group insurance. Some people didn't take it that we anticipated. The IT, they're still working on the security. Some of those items didn't get done last year, so that money went back to the general fund. Our legal line came in with a surplus of 22,000. Public Works, you'll see there's a surplus in their salary line. They had 4 people leave last year, so there was unpaid people on being paid, so there was, that money just goes right back to the general fund. Repairs and maintenance in Public Works was a little less, it was less, and so was contracted services than anticipated. So again, that goes back to the general fund. I'm just giving like a short synopsis there. And the contingency, there was still over $22,000. And that went back to the general fund. So we'll be going back to the general fund once I get done with all my adjustments and stuff. So that's kind of like a quick synopsis of the town. The Board of Ed, they're pretty much complete. This
I
is-
didn't spend any money.
Yeah, right there, they didn't spend any money. But it's in the other thing. I didn't give you the detail yet. I'll eventually get that to you, probably next meeting or when we do the tri-board meeting, usually get all the details. Because they just approved their year-end transfers. So on their little expenditure report, you see the before transfer and the after transfer line.
No.
So basically they're giving back $91,650. Yes.
The bank with that.
Yes. So I had put in like 100,000, but they're giving me 91, so.
So we do that?
91,649.
I thought they turned that down to 85.
It was down, but then there were some other changes. Some of the purchase orders came in less, and so as I was going through year end, it just making more adjustments and stuff, so. And some things got canceled, so. Yeah, that was just an estimate back then, but now this is pretty set here now. Oh, I think if you saw the Board of Ed minutes, there was a motion, which I said, you don't motion that, so they reversed the motion. They did an estimate of 85, and I'm like, you didn't need to do that. So that was them trying to say, we're gonna give something back, but that's probably where you saw that number. Yeah, that was at the meeting, so they kind of reversed that out. So, yeah. That's the Board of Ed in a nutshell. So, yeah, so the town is basically, an estimate is about $900,000 being put back into the general fund at this point, pending my final audit adjustments and the auditors will be coming, so. Yes, any questions on last year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, it sort of rolls over into a future topic, but
Mhm.
we had talked about potentially this being a valuable tool in monitoring for that expenses. So they've gone through a year and they made some decisions and decided that we don't need all the money in this account. That's been a little extra money on equipment or whatever,
Mhm.
or less, fix the boiler. Can I figure all that out from this tiny writing? From the bottom? But is all this stuff documented here or?
Some of it is, it's not all quantified. So I can try to go through and make a list of, so you kind of know what, at the year end, what was some of the changes were, and what has been purchased. I know the boiler was one of them. There was a gym floor for like 30,000. They did buy curriculum items and supplies needed for this coming year. I think what else there was. There was a lot of repair work done. I believe, so, and painting. So yeah, I can make a list if you want to see that in the next meeting.
Well, the other question, I hate to redundancy, but how does that work? I mean, at some point, somebody decides we're gonna do something extra, something we didn't budget. Is that documented in the minutes or?
I think because the Board of Ed is a bottom line budget, if there's a proposal made to the superintendent, and if it's over $10,000, it goes to the Board of Ed for approval and it's in the minutes. So there were some, I think there was a couple that did go in the minutes.
I haven't seen the air conditioning unit discussed. in the
That's
minutes.
coming up, that's coming up. We'll talk about that later in the,
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so I didn't see this, okay, all right, so.
Superintendent can approve anything under.
And anybody can propose it?
well, I think it comes from the, like a teacher will go to the administration talk to the superintendent, depending on what it is, how much it is, then it will go to the Board of Ed if it's over 10.
So what, under 10, where is it recorded?
Basically, it would be on a purchase order, which is approved by the administration and the superintendent and or the superintendent.
So internal paper flow does not really.
And it's over 10, it's not the full Board of Education that approves it, it's the subcommittee?
No, the Board of Ed.
It's the goal.
The budget subcommittee will discuss it, but it'll have to go to the Board of Ed for final approval.
So I did look at the last minutes, but this change, 91, there's a summary of all the transfers that they approved.
Yes, yep. So if you want that too, I can get that for you at the next meeting.
What would have been in the minutes that we got, right?
I don't think they document in the minutes. It just says, here's the transfers. So
And
the
just
summary I can get by object code if you want to see those.
Figure out from our perspective what you guys would like to see in terms of the flow of information. That means we'll see numbers, but we don't see that.
And some, we were gonna do the old breakdown that you had recommended. Ernie.
I'll break down the budget.
Yeah, as far as the budget, yeah.
Oh, there's two different things.
Oh, okay.
Setting the budget, and this sort of tracks how we're doing relative to the budget over the course of the year. This kind of report comes out periodically. And I was thinking it would be nice if there were notes on that that says, hey, as October, something broke, the gym exploded. And so we didn't budget to build a new gym, but because it exploded.
I think
we
Maria's
anticipate
been
at the
working
end-
on a little bit of that herself for managing the budget this year, a little more detail, so I'll see if she.
I was just wondering if this should be the vehicle where some of that is sort of recorded, or what level are we interested in, or do we not care?
You're not getting that into the fiscal policy.
No, we don't go into that.
Actually, we haven't got
This,
one.
this is our minutes from our last meeting, and it summarizes every transfer that we did. And I don't know why, if the Board of Ed is doing the same thing, that their minutes don't have the same.
But they're not.
That's what I'm saying, why don't they?
I don't know.
And we asked them to.
I don't know.
I don't think you can. But
Right, that's it.
Or
We can ask.
Yeah, I mean, we can ask.
We
but
can't.
I
We
can't
can't.
force it, but we can ask.
I could provide that in the next packet if you want, or if you want me to send it to you after this meeting, I can get it for you.
I think we'll run into trouble if we start saying you have to do things exactly the way the town does them. But I don't think we're running into trouble by saying if you reach a decision point where you know you're gonna go off schedule, can you inform us? Those are the two different things.
You think we'd be asking too much if we just asked for a copy of their transfer?
They're not doing transfers during the course of the year.
They're only doing it at the end of the year.
They're not doing it at the end.
They do end of year. They never, they're a bottom line. For here,
So
they're
they
a
have
bottom
one
line.
wallet and it just all comes out of
Just a
that.
net adjustment at the appropriate.
So if we could go back to the Board of Ed minutes, I'm
Go stand in the corner.
sorry. So Marie said in the Board of Ed meeting, according to the minutes, that she expected there'd be 15% of her budget. Is that, anybody else read that? And that there were 80 more students?
That's in the next part. When I get to, that's this
Oh.
year. That's not last year.
Oh, sorry. I'm just like, what the hell? So, sorry, I jumped in there.
Okay, I guess, I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I was sort of hoping that if significant unbudgeted expenditures arose, I expect that those would be noted here. And then
Okay.
I'd be happy.
Yeah, I can get that for you and I'll send it out. You want it for the next meeting?
I like it to become sort of a routine part of the report.
Mhm.
And then, there's nothing we can do about last year, but I'm thinking about the ongoing stuff, so.
So when something pops up immediately, let us know.
Well, it'll be, yeah,
Actually, maybe we should get that for this last.
I would like to
complete
see
year.
last year, that will inform our decisions in this coming budget.
Yes. So I'm being wishy-washy, I'm back to yes, please. Okay. Well, we don't need to see every nickel and dime.
Just want the major ones that,
Yeah,
yeah, I can look through the purchase orders and then come up with a list so you have a general idea.
Okay.
Okay.
Did that get us through?
For last year,
So I'm trying to remember. Board of Ed, when we did the budget, we thought we were talking 100,000
Mhm.
in revenues. Did we even do revenues and town projections for the budget?
I don't know about the revenues. I think we did for the revenue, but not too much for the town budget. So whatever the town is giving back, I think all of that is extra.
What was that number?
285, 285.
Okay,
So, Bev, I'm seeing the 542 on this first page, the first page, where's the 285?
Expenditures.
Oh, it was the very last, second to last page?
Yeah, it's in the expenditures. It's before the Board of Ed page. It says right above after contingency. On page 8 of that report, of the expenditure report.
page numbers. Wow. Little tiny numbers.
You have it?
Page 8, page numbers are right here. Up right.
On this?
Yeah, go to page 8.
Right before the Board of Ed has no numbers and there's like 2
Yeah,
lines above that.
Because I haven't merged them. I don't merge it.
Page, I see the page numbers, what page now is it?
8.
8, okay.
is,
Just remember these this Board of Ed numbers is probably pretty much close to final. As the town, I'm still working on, so it could adjust a little bit here now, not a lot, but it could be adjusted. And then we have the audits and see if they have any changes to. So there could be some, these are not final.
Current year,
Current year, if you look at the property tax collection, it looks like she did pretty well. She's over, definitely over 40%. So the first round did very well for this year. We haven't gotten the ECS grant yet, so a lot of stuff is pending. LoSiP, we didn't submit for last year, but I'll see if there might be some capital we might be able to submit this year, but we'll see. It depends on what we can get approved.
how much do we have in the bank now?
About 117,000 for LoSiP, so there might be a couple that we might be able, at least one I'm thinking of, we might be able to submit. The building fees seem to be still doing quite well. They are in a full house of preschool tuition, so anticipating that's gonna come in well. Special ed grant, that's always depends on what goes on this year. And I'll get into that in a minute. So I think revenues, I don't think we've had any concerns or issues with that so far yet, so, but it's still early. And the next one, there have been a few transfers within lines, nothing unanticipated as far as I can see with the Board of Selectmen budget. So I don't think we have any concerns right then and there, other than there was some repairs coming up, which she'll be approving one of the transfers tonight on that, but nothing totally like, oh, we have to go to the general fund, something big happening as far as I know. And as for the Board of Ed, to answer your question, Judy, right now they have available, but that's pending further review. They have now have an increasing population. Porter is now up to about 465 students. There's been, I think, over 20 kids registered just for Porter alone over the summer, and there's still kids coming in. There are a few, I don't know how many, but there's a number that have special needs. So there is a possibility of another para being hired. They have hired a couple other specialty people. They're trying to keep the kids in-house instead of outplaced. There is a potential of some outplacements, and there's some changes going on with the outplacement too, but that might wash with the changes going on with the students. So things have been a little in flux in the last month or two. We're trying to figure out what students are coming, if any students are leaving. And again, they've had to hire some staff to help take care of these students. And there could be some more needs coming down the road based on what I understand. There's still some possibilities coming into the district. High school, I think there has been some additions, but not as much as at Porter School. So we're still waiting for the counts to come out. Since October 1 is the first mandated deadline to the state to get the numbers recorded. So we're just waiting for those to come in.
Now, the number counts, I mean, an extra kid at Porter doesn't really,
It can if it needs services. and-
Understood.
Yeah,
but if the kid does not need services, the class size
Yes.
get bigger.
yes.
I have no idea how big they are. I probably should know. But going back to when we set the budget, the discussion we had was these numbers look like you got some wiggle room to the tune of $200,000 at least. We had that discussion and they came back and said, we don't want you to cut our budget because we know about these special ed kids coming in. Now, are you talking about, so at that point, they knew about some special ed kids coming in. Are we talking about more than they knew about at that time?
Yes,
Yeah,
there's a possibility, yes.
But they're
possible.
not here yet.
There are some kids here. I heard there could be some changes, so I'm not privy to all that information
Understood.
because that's confidential.
Yeah. I
But
know
there
we-
is
we're
a
talking about-
chance, there has been. So I believe there could be another student coming in, but I don't know if that's been confirmed yet.
So how many more kids are we talking? We're talking about 1, 2, 3?
I'm not sure. So, as I said,
Probably
that's,
depends on there.
Yeah.
Because in their minutes, it said something about getting more of the PT equipment for somebody or,
yes, there's a possibility. There's these behavioral, they'll call them behavioral technicians. They did recently hire another one because it's needed. There's another student that is coming in. I know of one that might be needing a pair because they don't have enough staff to take care of the needs of this one student, but
What's a,
paraprofessional,
oh,
like a student aid.
Are there any kids in residential treatment that are?
Nobody's residential,
Okay.
so that's helpful. That doesn't mean that's not gonna change, but it's all outplaced right now.
Getting back to the comment you read that got your interest, I vaguely remember that. What was that comment again?
Oh, the budget was at 15%.
was gonna be 15% higher and.
Is that not this year, but
Yeah.
next year?
I
What
believe
was
it,
the
no,
plan?
it's gonna be, I think what they're saying is based on the numbers here. I think Maria was just saying that I think she's got a soft freeze on some spending right now.
So that they're expecting maybe to be 15% of our budget this year?
I think
If the
so.
money were available, or was it referring to what might happen next year?
I think she's talking about this year. Because of the costs between the staffing changes, the new students coming in. They did recently have to move some classrooms because of air quality concerns. So there was costs to that. They had to get testing done and additional cleaning, I believe. We have encumbered as much as possible, but again, the number that's showing a surplus does not include things like subs. We don't encumber subs. The heating and cooling, I didn't put that in as a prediction being spent because this was kind of early. I expect that even though we have locked in fuel costs, the budget was kind of geared towards $3 and the fuel is, oil is at $3.65 plus fees. The diesel's at $3.71 plus fee, whatever fees they put us on gallons, so I expect, but I tried to put a little extra in those lines to cover that. Propane seems to be doing okay. Electricity, the loan is paid off. So there will probably be some funds in there to help cover any additional costs. I think they're watching their technology spending, but I think there was some technology they needed to purchase. There is no negotiations this year, so the legals should be, there shouldn't be any, all of a sudden, a spike in what is in there, but you never know because between what happens in school, sometimes they do need the legal going on. The health insurance line, I'm anticipating that is going to be going over because of the staff turnover they had, because I think basically they had, I don't know how many they left, but the ones that came on all took insurance. And then we're not talking about just single, we have family plans that were not anticipated. So that line's gonna go over. As you can see right now, I think it's about 77,000 over. We haven't heard of any extensive staff leaves so far, which is good. Hopefully it stays that way. I think we do have the snowplow contract. It came in a little higher, but only a couple thousand. Let's see. The buses, they are down one bus. So Maria is going to be talking to them about, well, what's going to happen with, are they going to give a little back here on the billing? Because they, I think, called the contractor for 9 buses and they're having 8. So she was looking into that. So yeah, so it's, right now they're seeing it as a tight budget.
But the
So there is.
game plan is to try as hard as possible to manage the budget. They're not coming to anybody for extra money right now.
So right now, we decided for the next couple months to just monitor the budget and see how things are going. There is a possibility they will come back to get something from the non-lapsing account, depending on how.
Well, wait a minute. When we suggested that, they said, no, we won't operate on the assumption that FiPAC is going to give us money. If we think we don't have enough money, we'll start cutting the programs. But we're not going to do that. But don't answer
I don't know about that.
Don't answer that question.
I'm not
That's-
responding to that
That's not a
comment.
question for you. I'm talking out loud just to make Jeff laugh.
So when do we have the tri-board meeting?
That's
It'll be in December.
In December? So we'll have an update from the school.
Yeah, she'll tell us what's going on. I'm just being a little bit mischievous because I didn't like that session we had. Anyway, thank you, Ben. Where are we?
Oh, and just so you know, too, another one is there's a cybersecurity policy that we're still working on getting that. And this could come way above what's been budgeted because of the costs we've been hearing of cyber policies. So there's a potential that there's another cost that is totally unanticipated. So like I said, things keep popping up and
You expand on that, is it the cost of preparing the
Insurance.
document or the
the
actual
insurance.
creation?
It's
of the
insurance.
policy that's required?
No, it's the insurance premium. Because the town's basically doubled this year just to get cyber insurance policy. So the school, there's a potential it's going to be more than what, even more than what the town's paying. I can't say what it is yet because we're still working on those parameters.
What does cyber policy cover?
Hacking. Say if somebody breaks into the school's database and tries to steal data.
You would cover it.
Yeah, it covers if there's a disaster.
Somebody breaks into your server,
Right, yeah, it covers that. And then
so they're,
You still lost everything. You just didn't get your cash.
I have no idea, I don't,
Well, if the student's
data go.
identity is hacked and then, that family is put at risk, they can sue the town. So I'm assuming the premiums will cover the
I
town's
assume
expense
so,
for being
yeah.
sued for allowing.
Well, I think the other,
allowing that.
I think the other thing is if the town computers are, and then they become unoperational, they can.
For ransom, right, I don't know if this policy will cover ransomware, some do, some don't.
I think it does. actually.
It does, that's good. But-
Yeah, I haven't looked.
Because
at
that's what
those.
happens, that's the worst.
That happens all over the place and more and more.
You happy?
Yeah, yeah. I'm always a skeptic on large insurance fees and we don't know what exactly the benefit and what they cover. And how it
Oh, I haven't gotten
what
to
makes you
detail.
whole.
Yeah.
Once your data is destroyed,
Well, I think
you
it'll
give you
cover,
money, it won't cover
it
it.
should cover the cost to try to restore and
Yeah.
recover and, remediate whatever we need to do.
30 years in the IT side.
Yeah.
Right, I'm just not.
And it's a new and growing,
Oh, I-
business sector.
Oh. sure. Classes.
We done?
Absolutely.
Budget review procedures. Last meeting? I don't know, Kelly, if you got a copy of the sample. What of that budget? Did you? No.
Minutes.
It was in the last packet,
It
I
was?
think, or no, we passed them
No,
out because
you
it was
passed
so
it
big.
out.
Yeah, I didn't.
You get 3 minutes of study time, then you can join our discussion. I would suggest you flip toward the back, some of the supporting exhibits back there, sort of make it part smile, so.
Actually, 5 years ago.
So-
when they did
Yeah.
the
And this is
budget,
what you'd like to see going forward.
Something, I think, well, that's what we're gonna talk about, but I think the general impression people had was that we like this a lot more than what we're currently getting. Nobody said I liked everything in there or whatever, so that could be part of our discussion tonight, is there anything you liked, anything else redundant, anything that. You know, so anybody would like to speak to that or? Well, the people who said they weren't getting what they needed. Talk to
I like
me.
the larger font, can I say that?
It made a little more logical sense in the way that it was created in the flow through, so that you could follow it, I thought. That's.
I said my piece last minute, I prefer this.
Okay,
It seems like a lot more detail. I like that. I like the more detail.
yeah, I think in some cases, it just repeated what we already had. I mean, the whole process starts with, here's a line item, here's the budget for that line item, supplies, equipment, whatever. And some of the exhibits just repeated that and just showed those lines. I'm not sure that was necessary, but a lot of the other exhibits, and I can give you, I made some notes on the page numbers, the check marks are the ones that I like, the ones that broke down, like the high school, between the high schools with the tuition rates, the student counts and all that. So if everybody just says, I like that, let's go back to that, then we don't need to talk about it.
Well, I think when we have the tri-board meeting, what they tell us is something that, let's go back to that, where we have a number of students or a number of students at the different high schools, the cost per student. And more of a overview, because when you look at these pages with all these numbers, it's very difficult to understand what the whole picture. And I'd like someone to give me a better analysis of the big picture.
Yeah, interesting. I like what's on page 35.
But anyway, maybe we'll get in December.
Oh, we don't have to wait till December. Here's a messenger. She will.
Okay.
I agree with you there. We got some of that information in a presentation by the acting super last year. And
In the PowerPoint.
but it kind of felt like, okay, here's a slide, here's the information. But you never had the financial information with you at the same time to kind of compare what was going on. It was more her presentation. And in that version, it seems to marry the story with the finances.
Yeah, check mark means I really like those. And I thought they added some value. Some of the others were just repetition of it. Hey, here's a line item, and I'm going to repeat that line item. I don't need to see it twice, but if it's in there twice, it doesn't hurt. So
Okay,
check mark means
yes.
I think that's of some value to like that based on what these guys have said. Okay, we don't need to beat it to death. And we will
Memorize
photograph. And Maria had reached out to me through her administrative assistants. She wanted to figure out what it was that we wanted. We'll just try having them to deliver a general message, and if she still wants to talk to me, that's fine. I'm
Okay.
more than willing. Okay. Enough of that. HVAC.
Yes. So I'm sure you've read in the paper that the state is contributing funds along with the American Relief Funds, about $150 million to all school districts in the state to do an HVAC upgrade and improve air quality for students. It's also retroactive back to, I guess, 2020 or something if they've done the work. So the town, Maria has started the process to kind of start pull together information so that we can apply for this grant to put some, probably just one wing, the one that's over here, like is the worst, I guess, heat impact, air quality, and just try to get something going there. So we've had a few meetings. We've been meeting over since last year about it on and off. If you remember, the Board of Ed had put it in their capital plan to start funding for it, and we pulled it out once we realized that the state was going to have a grant, so it was pulled out just to see what the funding is going to be. So the Board of Selectmen approved last night to proceed with the grant to at least get our name in the pot, basically.
Do we have any idea how competitive this process will be?
No. So
there's enough
So
money
all
for
districts
everybody.
are being encouraged to submit something by December 1st. The grant paperwork basically got approved early September. So there's 3 stipulations has to be done, that the superintendent got the approval to apply, that we're going to establish the building committee and also submit a schematic plan. So we're in the works of pulling that all together. There is no dollar amount right now in this grant. So basically it's to submit, and once you get approved, then you can get the committee together, get the bid and get pricing and work with them. It's a reimbursement grant. So the town will probably have to budget the full amount of the project.
Is it 100% reimbursement?
No. So we don't know what that percent is, but the number that's been going around is about 48%. I looked online and that was a number from 2002. So I don't know if that's an actual current number or percentage. That's basically what they gave us for the roof project. So with that said, from the study they did last year, the wing they're looking at was approximately $550,000.
Let me,
But in today's prices, that's probably higher. So,
did we have a breakdown of that? I think part of it was we had to bring in a whole new wiring from the street.
so that's
And
part of
then I
the,
assume there's some internal stuff. Did we have
Yes.
a breakdown?
so that one, to do the whole building was at least $450,000. So Mark contacted Titan Energy, our energy consultant. There's somebody actually going in Friday with the school to kind of tour around and see, to kind of get a feel for the building. We're trying to find out whether they have to contact Eversource to see what they would provide with upgrading the wiring outside the building. There's a possibility we may not need the full impact of what was discussed. It could be a lower, we don't know yet. So we're trying to gather all that information in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, and then we have to decide to whether we'll, depending on the cost, whether we're gonna take it from the general fund, or we're gonna have to find some financing, temporary financing. So there's a lot of to be determined in this grant right now, but the important thing is to at least get our name, something submitted. We don't have to accept it if we get awarded a grant too, so.
Who in town does the application, the grant application?
So the
Right.
grant application will probably be done through the superintendent's office in conjunction working with the town. There is a login, there's a site, the questions, I didn't look through them all, they're more informational questions, so, but it's not saying put in the amount, so,
So it's not a free format
No.
presentation.
no, as far as I know. But we haven't quite looked at it yet, because we were trying to work on, okay, are we doing this, are we not doing this, work with the board of selectmen. There will be a town meeting set, I think, right, Mark, from November 15th possibly?
Right, we'll
Yeah.
set it November 1st for a town meeting at 6:45 on November 15th. So
And that'll be a
Another-
different presentation.
another big factor is you score higher if you have confirmed funding for the project. And because it is a competitive grant, which means a town meeting could fund up to 500,000, but you would need a referendum to fund above that. And they have allowed a referendum to come in as late as February 28th. But you have to prove you have scheduled the referendum by December 1st. So we're not sure which path we have to take yet.
Yes, Jeff?
Yeah, earlier on in the presentation here, you say what I looked really nilly on this, or on me anyway, you wanted to do this side of the building. Instead of, so who did the environmentals to determine that side of the building was the building that needed the air conditioning or the HEPA filters or whatever
Okay, so,
versus the other side? of the
so
building?
from my understanding and over the years, the wing that's, we'll say across from the little Indian school there, has, it's got direct sunlight all the day and it gets really, really hot in there. They have had issues with mold. They've had issues with moisture. Where they had, earlier I said they had to move kids out of the classroom. They've had moisture coming through the wall, not that the foundation's not crumbling. But that's the one that seems to have the most need based on the feasibility study and other stuff that they've done.
So then I'm going to assume if we're going to spend the money on the air handling, the water infiltration through the walls has been corrected. All these things have been corrected before we go and
I'm assuming,
try and
yes.
put a Band-Aid on something.
Well, that would be
else.
some that, when you get to that point, to talk to Maria and Mike Sylvester. I'm not an expert on what all is going on in that
But all
building.
that's been
they know what, yeah, they know it's aware that they do need, the air conditioning is definitely needed in that wing. I think the plan is eventually they're gonna expand to each other wing. Because more and more besides air quality, there are staff and students where they're coming in with doctor notes saying they need to have certain air quality and air conditioning.
So we're talking central air as opposed to different.
Well, they're looking possibly at split systems, but it has to work with the exchange system they already have, their quality exchange system they have in there, so
Whole lot of stuff to figure out. huh?
it's a lot of stuff to, not something I'm very knowledgeable at.
But you'll know more by the end of this process.
I'm starting to learn things, you know? So it's a huge project that they scaled back to what they feel is the most need, that area is the most need. Not just downstairs, I think it's the whole upstairs and downstairs. You know, but it just seems that it's not getting better over there, and they're checking the air quality, and they're also, I think now they're doing a humidity check there. Because there's some concerns. So it's not getting any better. I mean, somebody says, why don't you just open the windows, but that's not gonna help the problems that they're seeing there, so. You know, so,
Okay, are we done?
yes.
Audit.
So the audit is going to be, the third week of November. I'm waiting for final confirmation, so they'll be here, I believe, starting November 14th. I believe they are doing I'm trying to see if they're gonna do all the audits in 1 week. That's includes the library, the town, and the Board of Ed, my fun report that I always do, but sometimes they usually do that separate, so. There is gonna be a different crew here. They've had turnover themselves. So I'm not sure who's showing up, but it could, you know, but it won't be the same team that was here last year, so.
Are they stable now? I know they had turnover.
I'm not getting a lot of answers to my questions because I think they're trying to get it scheduled so that they can get people here, because I'm like, well, who's coming? So I haven't heard back yet, but I'm assuming they've settled down a little bit, and I assume got some new staff that's, you know, coming, so they're gonna be ready to go, and I'm gonna make sure they have everything they need.
Okay, I'm not suggesting we change, but let's keep your eyes open, and we'll be asking you for judgment.
Yeah, so I'll see how that goes. I mean, I know that just based on a year or two ago, asking other towns what they pay for fees, we're very fortunate what we're paying right
Oh, we
now.
got a good deal, no
We have a
question.
really good deal. So I think if we changed, you could see a budget impact.
Oh, I know that.
So,
I'm not suggesting that. I'm
Yeah,
just
but
saying-
we also have a smaller pool of possible auditors in the state to do municipalities. So we'll see. I'm crossing my fingers. This is gonna be the usual same quality, good team.
Okay. Legislative updates, is that you, Mark?
I've got a year-end convention coming up November 1st and 2nd. So we'll vote on our final slate of what we're going to recommend to our lobbyists to try to get our legislators to do to help the cities and towns. So I'll report at the next FiPAC meeting what that looks like.
Other items of interest, anybody? Miscellaneous? No, we can go to transfers, which I never see in my package, but we have a few.
Just 3 this time.
What's up? Group insurance?
So the first one will take from group insurance. That line seems to have some available funds. It's to help, there was to pay for professional improvement for staff. They brought in, they did an in-house workshop for strategies and tools for an effective work environment, try to give us some points to consider, especially if we have unruly residents or clients that come into the town hall. You know, just, yeah. And other, you know, just try to help us get through just to make sure that we're all in positive attitude and work together and all that kind of stuff. It was a good workshop, but there were 2 workshops. It was well attended by staff. And I think we all got a little bit of something out of it. So it was totally unbudgeted, so that's why that transfer is there. The second one for $4,040 is to repair the ropes on the moorings. We've had 2 or 3 boats, kind of three that got loose recently and floated away, and I don't know, hopefully no damage, but
No damage. They were saved before hitting anything, but
yeah. So it was, so these were ropes, it was suggested by a year or 2 ago that we had a couple years left on the ropes anyway. When they had to fix the moorings a couple years ago, the diver said you only got a couple years left, so they didn't last as long as we expected. So the divers are coming back and gonna repair that, get the ropes ready for the spring and then install them in the spring. So we're gonna take that out of contingency, since that's totally unbudgeted, it's a big cost. The last one is part of the rec park project. And to help, I think, is the security cameras, I believe, up at Rec Park Pavilion. We needed a hotspot subscription. So for $650, it seems to be working well up there. That's the other transfer from contingency. And before I finish, 'cause I know you're gonna ask what's in contingency. Prior to these 2 transfers, there is over $59,000 left in contingency. Since you accrued 20,000 already being taken earlier in the year. So, and that'll leave us with about approximately 54,900 if you approve these transfers tonight, so. That's it.
Do we, when we lease those moorings out, do we make enough money on it to cover the periodic inspections year after year?
They probably make about $1,200, like there's 14, right? So it's about $1,400 a year.
It's going the wrong way.
4 times that.
I don't know
So
how,
how long the ropes will last?
yeah, I was gonna say, Mark, do you know how long the ropes last?
we're making some corrections so that the ropes last much longer. We're adding a section above the mushroom anchor so that the rope never, what happens is the anchor ropes, when things slack or when waves hit, loop down and get hooked on the anchor. And then the action of rubbing against a rusty anchor mushroom wears the rope down. So we're going to avoid that in the future with this new, totally new install we're doing. So I think we'll get a lot longer life out of them.
More than 4 years.
More than 4 years, I'm hoping.
Yeah, I don't know how, I don't remember how long these other ones were. It's been a while since they did them.
I'll
so.
find out. And if we have to, Jeff, adjust our fees, we'll do that.
You don't have to make a profit. if you want to lease it.
Correct. We should cover costs.
Well, for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
$1,200.
Okay, what's your pleasure, FiPAC?
I move that we approve the transfers as presented.
Well, motion and a second, any more discussion?
Who's the second? I'll say Kelly.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Uh, Any random thoughts everybody has before we get out of here? Comments or things you'd like to discuss in the future?
Do we have anything specific scheduled for November? Any
So
specific topics?
one thing, so I know that Mark had mentioned this. That situation. And does we don't know the details yet, so we're gonna find out the details later, but it implies, you said that we would have, you have a better chance of getting the grant if you pre-approve things. And by what date those things either need to be scheduled or pre-approved? again, was it December of this year
So-
or next year?
So just to clarify what Mark said, so if we go to the town meeting and just say the town's gonna allocate, because town meeting can only go up to $500,000. So if the town commits $500,000 towards this project, that doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna cover the project, considering our quote is above that. It just looks good to the state, seeing that we have some type of commitment to invest in an air conditioning unit.
Mhm.
So he's saying you have to kind of, at a town meeting, approve some funding.
Yeah, so when does that town meeting have to?
It has to be done before the December 1st deadline, so they're going to,
This December.
so the November 15th town meeting is, they're gonna decide whether they're gonna which means we'll have to allocate funds.
Can it be contingent funding? So if we don't get the grant, the money goes back to the.
So if we don't get the grant or we decide not to do the project, then you probably have to do a town meeting to reallocate it back to the general fund, or it sits there until it'll probably be in capital. So then you either take it out of the budget process and put it back, or you do another town meeting to reverse that motion.
It originally wasn't.
Yeah,
Capital until we found out that there was possibility of this grant.
but if you still have to fund the whole thing, so if the project
Right,
turns
yeah.
into $1 million project, then the town's gonna have to go back and put another 500,000 in. But if you want to put more in that, more than that, to make sure we fully cover pretty much, we have to do a referendum. And so we'd have to show that we're doing a referendum in the application, and then have that referendum prior to February 1st, which is probably, which I think
February
that's-
28th.
so that's probably around the time where they're gonna get close to start announcing the grant awards, which I think we have to get the work done by 2024. So it's gonna be like, oh, so that's where we have to make sure we have everything in a row and get going, and then find somebody who can get the work done. Because remember, we're competing with how many districts in the state. Although some of them have already done the work, so they just have to come back with the proof of everything, so. Yeah, and then finding out what our percent is too. So there's a lot of ifs, and unfortunately, the state hasn't given a lot of details, but there is a website, you can go look. There was a PowerPoint that was provided to the Board of Selectmen. So if you want to see that PowerPoint, that would kind of gives you an orientation to the grant, we can send that out to you too.
This was-
We're done? Somebody asked a question about plans for November. As of right now, there are no pressing issues that I'm aware of. I doubt that you have a critical transfer. I'm not suggesting we cancel the meeting, but suggesting we be prepared if nothing comes up to expect. And then I assume we'll have a tri-board meeting sometime in December.
So normally we hold it the same night as FiPAC. So if you want to stick with that, we'll check with the other two boards and just go ahead and get it scheduled. I think we usually talk about it fiscal policy.
Yeah.
So if we have in November, we'll just schedule it then and just assume it'll be the same night, the third Wednesday. He'll bring the
Yeah,
Christmas
December.
punch.
So the board ed is working on their budget now.
They haven't started yet. Nobody started. They're just looking at this. They usually start sometime end of November, December. They start requesting the staff to start looking at and submit what they want for next year. The town does it about the same time. Yep, and then January gets pulled together, and then the two boards meet, and I remember here this calendar thing, so you don't see till February to March,
You can always
but you're
go to-
welcome to go to any of the
You can
meetings.
go to the meetings.
Yeah.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn, thank you.
So moved.
Automatically approved. Thank you, folks.
Good night, everyone. And that motion was at 8:03.
How's the deer hunting been?
My daughter's boyfriend has 2 already, 2 nights in a row, so he's doing great. I haven't been out yet. Good night, all.
Tiny.
Yeah.
That's potential. Hold on.
Thank you.